financing at the dealer. We go from John Miller to Dave Stewart. Stu at DSmoke34 on Twitter. Big boxing fan. I can't wait to talk some boxing with him. Maybe not today, but in the future here. But Stu, thanks so much for joining us, man. Of course, two-time World Series champ, three-time champ, 89 World Series MVP. And Stu, good morning to you. Welcome back to the Morning Roast with Joe Shasky, the Butcher, and Bonte Hill. And Willie Mays obviously left this world Tuesday afternoon at the age of 93 to say, hey, kid. And I know you grew up playing baseball as an African-American in Oakland, California. Probably watched a lot of Willie Mays. What did Willie mean to you, Stu? And good morning to you.
Well, he meant the world to me. Being San Francisco being the only team in the Bay Area when I was in my early youth. My father was a longshoreman, worked at Pacific Maritime over in San Francisco, and we went to a lot of Giants games. It was always debatable, especially, when my family were playing bid whist games or playing dominoes. You have a group of people over partying and you get to talking about sports, which happened a lot in my house. The debate would always be who was the best player in the game. And without hesitation, everybody said Willie Mays. And so, having an opportunity to watch the Giants, back in those days, we watch a lot of Giants and Dodger games, but watch the Giants in general. Watching Willie play the game and having an opportunity to meet him at a young age and watch how he interacted with fans really made a huge impression on me and set a standard for me once I became a major league player.
Where was that first time you met Willie Mays?
Candlestick Park, 1962 bat day.
Wow. How old were you?
7 years old.
Wow. And were you just a kid, running up to the front of the grandstands or something? Like where were you? Like, I'm just curious.
No, my dad made a point that we were going to wait for Willie to come out of the ballpark after the game, get the bat signed, and we waited. He signed autographs for about 2 hours before he got to me.
Wow. And that was when they gave out the big bats, huh? No, because I got
That's right. That's when they gave out the real ones, but they were only real until they connected to a baseball and then it immediately. It's that cheap wood.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And he was my dad's hero, and so he became my hero, especially over the last couple of years. And there was something intoxicating about the way that he conducted himself, swinging 3-4 bats in the on-deck circle, the way he glided on the field, the way he ran the bases. Everyone wanted to run the bases like him, flipping the helmet off. What was it for you? What was the thing for you that when he was on the field that you just couldn't stop staring at?
It was just the impact of when you're a young kid, especially 6, 7, 8 years old, and you're watching a 24, 25-year-old athlete. When you're 7, you think that 25 is old. And so, when you're watching him steal bases and run down baseballs, those were the things that I remember most about him stealing bases. I don't remember so much Willie Mays hitting the home runs, but I do remember him stealing bases, running around the bases, his cap flying off, playing center field, running down baseballs, basketball. And anybody that watched him play, you have to remember the basket catches. That was standard for him. Those are the things that I remembered about Willie Mays.
Dave Stewart here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game, a 4-time 20-game winner, a 3-time World Series champion, one with the Dodgers, one with the A's, and, of course, one with the Blue Jays. Here talking about Willie Mays. Of course, you catch him on the A's Cast and A's pre- and post-game on NBC Sports California. What does it mean to you that Major League Baseball decided to bring this game between the Cardinals and the Giants back to Birmingham, Alabama, to Rickwood Field?
When I first heard about it, I thought that it was a great idea, and when they said that they were honoring Willie, I thought it was a tremendously great idea. To play this game in Birmingham, in the oldest ballpark known, I thought it was a tremendous it was a great idea by whoever thought about it at the commissioner's office. Obviously, all credit goes to Rob Manfred and Major League Baseball. But I just think that it's great that they've taken the step to honor the Negro Leagues, Willie Mays, and Negro League Baseball.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty incredible because I know the video game, because I play video games, has incorporated all of the old legends from the Negro Leagues, and I've learned so much because they've got these different modes where you play a Satchel Paige and you start off, as a young Satchel Paige, and you work your way to where he's 58 years old and he's still playing in the game. It's really cool to bring this to the light, and I think the thing that people don't understand is that once the door opened up, I mean, Bonte, I was reading the 10 MVPs, the 10 years after Jackie Robinson breaks the color barrier. I mean, it's a who's who of all of the greatest African-American players in the history of the game. And so it's a shame that it didn't happen sooner, but immediately you saw that impact. And within 4 years, there's Willie Mays, playing center field for the New York Giants.
I mean, it's just there's a lot going around the Negro Leagues now. Adding them to the record books officially, I think, is another outstanding tribute to the league and the players in the league. Major League Baseball is, and I call this intentional. They're making an intentional effort to honor these players in the way that they should be honored, and they should have been honored over the years.
No, you're right about that, Stu. They should have been honored over the years. What's your top Willie Mays moment? When you look back at all the highlights, obviously everybody looks at the 1954 World Series Game 1 catch, the basket catch over the shoulder, and then he twirls and throws it back into the infield in a split second. What's your top Willie Mays moment on the baseball field?
I mean, obviously in '54, I wasn't around to see that play or be a part of that play, but the Pirates game that I went to, he was 3 for 5 with a double, and he made 2 catches in center field at that time. And that's the game that I remember. And I tell you what, 1962, I didn't even recognize the fact that Roberto Clemente was playing on the other side.
Wow.
I never even recognized it. I mean, but that could be one of two things. It could be that, Roberto Clemente didn't do very much that day, or Willie Mays was just that good that day.
Is there a player, because my dad, he had said that the only guy that he thought reminded him of Willie Mays, and again, no one's going to come close, but recent memory, just the tools and the way that he runs the bases and the moxie and the power and the stature, not being a huge guy. My dad said Mookie Betts was like one of the closest players that he had seen who can kind of play the way Willie played, where he didn't have a hole in his game, and the joy with which he plays. And it hurts because my dad was a Giants fan, and seeing a Dodger play like that. Is that a close comparison for you?
I would have said that a couple of years ago, but as the years have gone on, the number of stolen bases is decreasing for Mookie Betts, and he doesn't, at least it appears, he doesn't have the, I don't know what the word is, but stolen bases are not a big deal for him. Willie Mays played every aspect of the game. He stole bases. He hit home runs. He was a tremendous defensive player. He was just good at every aspect of the game, and he felt that every aspect of the game was important. I would say that about Mookie 3 years ago when Mookie was stealing bases and playing that part of the game. But I guess if there's a player today where every piece of the game still matters, you might have to look at Acuna.
Ronald Acuna Jr., yeah, legit. He's out with a torn ACL, but 40-70 last year. Now I got to know, Stu, because you had to stare, you had to glare. You gave us nightmares from the '89 World Series, no doubt, when you were named World Series MVP. How would Dave Stewart have pitched Willie Mays?
I was actually was talking about Willie the other day, and I was fortunate to be in his company with a bunch of Hall of Famers, and I believe this was for Ricky's Hall of Fame induction. And sitting around with Bob Gibson, Willie, and Sandy Koufax was there. Ernie Banks. I mean, there were a bunch of Hall of Famers, and Willie was talking about his first time hitting against Bob Gibson. I'm sorry to make this a long story.
No, you got all the time in the world, Stu.
Yeah, give it to us.
Yeah, I'm sorry. He was talking about his first time hitting against Bob Gibson. And the way I took this, because I couldn't go back that far, my guess would be that Bob Gibson had been in the league a little bit longer than Willie. And so when Willie's first at bat against Bob Gibson, Willie's trademark is to step in the box and to dig that toe hole in that back foot, so he can get it. And he was really grinding it in there. And he said he had heard the reputation of Bob Gibson, but in that moment, he had forgotten that Bob Gibson was the pitcher. And so while he was digging that toe hole and making sure he, had a spot to sit that back foot, he said he then finished doing that, and he looked up, and he saw the way Bob Gibson was looking at him. He said he immediately got on his knees and with both hands covered up that hole that he had dug. And so... yeah, when you hear the story, it was hilarious. And he said, sure enough, first pitch, Bob Gibson threw one right underneath his chin. He said, bat gone, helmet gone, feet up. He said, man, he was, and Willie had a high pitched voice. So when you listen to him tell the story, man, it was the funniest thing I said, the funny thing I'd ever heard. So for me, Willie's first step was, as people would say, that front foot was in the bucket. And so that meant that Willie wanted anything that he could get on the inner portion, the part of the plate, and fastball, middle portion in was his hit zone. So I think what I would try to do is obviously pitch off the plate inside to just get his attention. But try to get my outs away with him, and if you're going to be away, at least you got a chance to keep him in the ballpark. So I would probably throw him hard away and soft away. That would probably be the way I'd try to approach him.
You got to have confidence to be an all-time great. Everybody knows that. And you played with some confident guys, Ricky being one of them, who also wore 35 and 24, the Willie Mays number as well. Is Willie one of the more humble, though, superstars you've been around? Because you've probably been around the legends of the legends of the legends. He had an aura about him, and he came off as humble. I had never met him.
He did come off as humble. But not only that, he was accessible, which, a lot of guys, man, when they reach a certain level of fame and obviously when you become Hall of Famers, you're not always easy. It's not always easy to communicate and get in touch with them. And if you listen to anybody and everybody that talks about Willie was always open to communicate, to speak with, to share any of his experiences that may be helpful to you as a player to be able to play this game in the way it should be played.
Stu, I know we're talking about Willie, but I got to ask, because I don't know if you watched the documentary, but the Say Hey Kid doc on the HBO Max, I found it hilarious that when Willie would go to the Red Rooster, a hangout spot after the games in the Polo Grounds in New York City, he'd have his back room. But the gangsters and everybody who was betting, they was like, hey, it's 9 o'clock. We got to get Willie home. He needs his rest. It was basically Harlem looking out for Willie, saying, you represent us. You're opening doors for Black Americans all over the country. We need you out there to play at a high level. And they would look out for him. Who was that person to look out for you, Stu, as you were coming up, knowing you were on the right track to go to Major League Baseball? But you always know there's a little distraction here and there. Who were some of those people that looked out for you, Stu, over the course of your career?
Well, the non-playing guys, the people that didn't play the game, but the people that I grew up with. I mean, there was, I had Warnell Simpson, there was Jeffrey Cunningham, Tack Wilson, Jeffrey Pete, who had a place in Oakland that people went to called God, what was Jeffrey's place? Jonelle. And so those were the people that didn't play the game that watched out for me, especially when I got back to Oakland. The people in the game, and oh, by the way, Jeffrey's place was also his namesake, Jeffrey's. And then there were people in the game, the first people to watch out for me and show me the ropes and really talk about what it meant to be a professional were Don Newcomb and Roy Campanella. Those were the first two people I met when I became a Dodger. And then after that, it became Reggie Smith and Davey Lopes. And one of my best friends today and my brother, Dusty Baker. Those guys took me under their wing and they showed me the ropes. And, Dusty was quick to say, "Hey, look, Stu, get up. We're going to breakfast." I asked him where. He said, "You don't need to know where. Just put your clothes on and come on." And so we get up, we get ready to go have breakfast. And sure enough, we get to breakfast in Atlanta. It's Hank Aaron, or if we were in St. Louis, I get a chance to sit down with Bob Gibson. And Dusty was good at that, man. And we'd go out to dinner and I'd sit with Gary Matthews or Ralph Garr and really get an opportunity to listen at them talk about baseball, talk about the hitting aspect of the game, which was helpful to me to learn about my approach to getting hitters out.
Dave, I know you've thought about this because everyone thinks about this. When you're a kid, back in the day, you're in the front yard, you're down at the park, you're playing with all your boys. What's the same? Because Rickwood is, I didn't know enough about Rickwood until this week, right? And in my mind, I've always wanted to, hit a home run at the Polo Grounds, for example, or see what Ebbets was like. You're on the mound. You get to visualize it. Who's the guy you're pitching against? Where's the stadium? What's the moment in time that you wanted to be involved when you were a kid just playing ball with your buddies in the neighborhood?
Well, this is the honest to God's truth. My brother Gregory, who's 5 years older than me, is the person that taught me everything I know about any sport, whether it was football, basketball, or baseball. And we used to play a game in our backyard called Strikeout. Mm-hmm. And our baseball was a sock with aluminum foil surrounded by tape. And we would get in the backyard and we'd play a game of Strikeout. And obviously, he's 5 years older than me. And so it was easy to get me out. And so when I became the pitcher, and this is the honest to God's truth, my brother used to always put me in every negative or possible negative situation you could be in. And he would always say, it's the bottom of the ninth, bases are loaded, score is tied, and Willie Mays is at the plate.
Wow.
And that was what my brother used to do to me all the time. And when I was asked a question about, my playoff record, which is 8-0 in the league championship playoffs, the reporters used to ask me, how was I able to accomplish that? And I always pointed back to my brother, put me in that situation all the time when I was a little kid growing up and learning to play baseball.
Wow.
It's a great story.
Stu. Great stuff, Stu.
I'm tearing up.
Yeah,
It's a great story.
Good stories all around, man. Thanks for the time, Stu. Next time we're going to talk boxing. Wow. I don't know if you knew this, Shasky, but Stu, big-time boxing fan. How about Tank Davis over the weekend? We got some big fights coming up, Stu.
Oh, boy, I love it, man. I love it. How about Benavidez going up in weight? I was expecting him to knock him out, man, but going the distance and getting that unanimous decision, I'm loving it, man. They're talking about Crawford fighting Canelo, man.
Yeah. If Crawford's, I'm probably going to go down to that fight August 3rd down in L.A. It's going to be a fun one. Whatever that, it's some great things, Shasky, about going to the newsroom. I can just see Stu, and we just talk boxing for like 30 minutes. We don't even talk baseball, football. We just talk boxing.
Stu, just stare at him.
That's it, man.
Just stare at Bonte and scare him.
No, he already
right?
has.
Just stare
he already has. He's like, Bonte, I need a link for boxing. Okay, Stu, here you go. Here you go, Stu. You need something else, Stu? I got you. No, man, Stu, honestly, thanks for the time, man. You're good. You're always good to us, man. You're doing a hell of a job, as always, on TV as well.
All right, you guys. Love you, brother. You guys take care of yourself, and thanks
too.
for having me on.
Hell yeah.
Anytime. Love you too, Stu.
Nope.
Dave Stewart, John Miller. That was those last